The point of a comic relief character is to be just that, a comedic presence that provides relief from an otherwise scary or serious game. Unfortunately, a lot of the time, the only relief you feel with these comic characters is when they walk off screen, or in the best case scenario, die. That's because it's all too easy for these characters to overshoot funny by such a wide margin that they end up in unbearable, and then stay there for the rest of the game while you're trying to get all your important heroing done. Here then are 7 comic relief characters that were so annoying we wanted to boot them into the sun. Enjoy, and beware spoilers ahead for the following games.
Where are you, Roman? Psst, Nico! Roman, what are you doing in the dumpster, man?
Are they there?
What are you talking about? Get out of there, man!
Oh!
Get out of the dumpster, Mr. Fatman!
There are plenty of annoying characters in Grand Theft Auto games, from your own character's kids
Mom was right about you. You don't know any better and you can't help it, but you're an asshole.
to terrible aspiring rappers.
It's OG Loke in the place. You don't want to stop me with a gun in your face. Yeah, man. Let's shut the up.
But no character is so annoying, so relentlessly unfunny, and so constantly present throughout the entire game as Roman Bellic from Grand Theft Auto 4.
I know, I'm a fat prick, what can I do?
Well, at least he's self-aware. Roman is the cousin of your character Nico Bellic, and at the start of the game, when you arrive in Liberty City for the first time, you're staying at his place, so he acts as a kind of guide for you, showing you the ropes and introducing you to the way things work in this town.
I come here, and the only thing big about your life is the cockroaches.
That's right. I got the base cockroaches, I got the base dirt.
Screw you, you idiot!
Or I guess that's what he's supposed to do. What he actually does is talk non-stop at you as you ferry him all over town, telling terrible jokes the entire time before embroiling you in all his petty bullshit and nearly getting you killed.
What did you do?
He was going to stab me!
Now he's going to kill you.
And then when you manage to get out of the game's initial area and spread your wings into other bigger, better parts of town, he won't leave you alone. He's always calling you, trying to get you to go bowling or drinking or some other activity that would probably be fun if you did it with anyone other than Roman.
Cousin, it is your cousin. You want to shoot some pool?
Also, up until very late in the game's story, he's essentially immortal, no matter how hard you might try to break things off with Roman.
Lights, titties, the food,
He keeps coming back, like a rotund, vaguely problematic Eastern European Terminator.
Cousin, I'm getting out of hospital. You couldn't pick me up, could you?
Honestly, it's just easier to go bowling.
He's turning guppies into jaws. Shh, quiet.
Resident Evil games don't generally do comic relief characters because they don't want anything to punctuate the tension of the harrowing survival horror atmosphere that they've created. I'm not counting 4, obviously. Hilarious. 2012's Resident Evil Revelations is an odd one, however. Originally made for the Nintendo DS, the game is set after Resident Evil 4 and follows Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine from the original game.
We got our equipment. Now what?
Now we contact HQ and tell them what the hell is going on.
Revelations also includes a bunch of new characters, some of whom are weirdly comedic in a way that is totally at odds with the rest of the series. Chief among these are Quint Ketchum and Keith Lumley, 2 other members of the BSAA group that Chris and Jill belong to, although how they got in, I don't know, because these 2 have all the military precision and serious demeanour of Laurel and Hardy after a late night drinking. These 2 spent all their time complaining,
You 2, get ready to move.
I hate snow.
and ignoring mission protocols.
So now what?
There's an underground chamber. We're preparing to storm it now.
Wow, that sounds like a job for us, don't it, Grinder?
Wait, we haven't received authorization yet.
And arguing with each other.
Hey! You think I'm a stalker, don't you?
You said it. Come on, let's go.
And not really interacting with the main story at all, just off having their own little annoying cutscene adventure that interrupts your cool ship-based zombie survival experience whenever it starts getting good. Honestly, where's a tyrant when you need one?
Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is arguably one of the best fighting games of all time, and a clash between iconic Marvel heroes and a bunch of characters that Capcom found down the back of the sofa. Alright, there are a few highlights. Capcom's side of the roster does feature several characters from the company's biggest 90s franchises, including Street Fighter, Darkstalkers, and even Jill Valentine from Resident Evil. If I'd been able to do that in Resident Evil, I feel like it would have been a much shorter game. There is definitely a sense, though, that Capcom was trying to make up the numbers for its half of the roster. That's the only explanation for the entirely original character they came up with for the game that is a giant sentient cactus wearing a sombrero. Real finishing your homework on the bus to school energy, that one. One of the differentiating factors in the Marvel vs. games over something like Street Fighter was the variance in size of the characters. You could be playing as regular human-sized Ryu, but fighting against an enormous robot sentinel. But in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, it's not just enormous characters, it works in the other direction too. Which brings us to Servbot, a joke character who is so tiny he makes Oddjob from GoldenEye look like a fair, well-balanced character. Servbot is a cutesy character pulled from the Mega Man Legends series, whose main job appears to be lunch service. Almost his entire move list is made up of bizarre cooking-themed attacks, including nearly dropping plates, tossing ingredients in a wok, and serving food. Also, owing to his diminutive height, an alarming number of his attacks tend to connect directly with the opponent's crotch. No rules about hits below the belt in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, apparently. That's not why we find Servbot so irritating though. He's not even a particularly strong opponent to fight against. The problem that really grinds our gears is he's considerably more difficult to hit than any other character in any fighting game. That means embarrassing dropped combos and whiffed moves galore when you face off against him. It's particularly bad luck if you're playing as traditionally terrifying Marvel supervillain Venom, whose screen-filling super move Venom Web utterly fails to damage Servbot because this tiny Lego minifig looking guy is too weenie to be properly ensnared by it. I believe the only appropriate phrase is, "You just got served."
Hey, I think Alan Wake here has something to say. What's that, Al?
Ooh, I'm Alan Wake. I'm always right about everything. And if I don't get my way, I'll sulk all day long.
Alan Wake is a writer. I don't know if he's mentioned it.
I'm a writer, goddammit.
Oh yeah, that's right. He does it all the time. Anyway, the first thing a successful writer must do is write, and not, for example, get trapped in the dark place for 13 years not finishing any books.
But trapped by the genre, we're all ripped to pieces along the way.
No! Is that where George R.R. Martin has been? Has anyone checked? The second thing a successful writer must do is have a good agent, so I guess that puts Alan at 0 for 2 on this list, because his agent is Barry Wheeler.
Al, please tell me we're headed for the nearest "You're now leaving Bright Falls, come back soon" sign.
Barry is not only not a very good agent on account of how he can't get Alan to overcome his writer's block, and how he suggests the vacation to Bright Falls that ends up with Alan being trapped under a lake for 13 years.
Yeah?
Hey, bestseller, how's my favorite writer? Are you there yet?
Barry. Yeah, we just got here.
But he's also possibly the world's most annoying man, as evidenced by the fact that whenever he's around, he can't stop cracking terrible jokes.
Guess that one saw the light.
If it's not that, it's Barry doing insulting impressions of Alan.
I'm always intense and moody. It makes me very attractive and mysterious.
That go on for absolutely ages.
Right now, I'm just standing here because I need my best friend Barry to carry me. But that's okay. I can just take him for granted.
Unfortunately for you, Barry is an unbelievably central figure to the original Alan Wake, meaning you'll be running into him again and again in this otherwise tense and scary survival horror game. And while Barry does serve the function of providing some light relief from the horrors of the game, there's definitely a difference between being around occasionally to crack a joke to lighten the mood, and showing up constantly wrapped in Christmas lights, being a total jerk the whole time.
What are the Christmas lights for?
Protection, man! Like garlic against vampires?
Barry didn't appear in Alan Wake 2, and that game has a Metacritic score 6 points higher than the original Alan Wake. Coincidence?
I feel like my brain is coming out of my nose.
I don't think so.
As you've no doubt seen, we're doing something very different than your average action shooter here with... Seriously? Your arm's tired? I played the Duke of Buckingham and Richard III with Ian McKellen, ass. This is Bush League.
There's no denying that the Borderlands games are funny. This is, after all, the series in which a man called Face McShooty asks you to shoot him in the face.
Brains everywhere! Not the knee, not the arm, not the spine! Face!
And that's funny whichever way you slice it. Where many feel the series sailed past funny and crash-landed into annoying, however, is in the character of Claptrap, the sometimes beloved and often behated series mascot, who is an annoying robot who does annoying stuff all the time, annoyingly. The problem with Claptrap is that he's always on, and not just in the sense that he's a machine and needs to be turned on in order to move around and stuff. What I mean is that Claptrap just will not shut up the entire time he's with you, yammering away about stuff, beatboxing, dancing around.
Claptrap beatbox time! Check it!
Yes, thank you. The whole point of Claptrap's character is that he's supposed to be obnoxious, but he is also actually obnoxious, and every moment you spend with him lets you know that, wow, Gearbox really nailed it.
This whole Crimson Raiders thing would totally fall apart without me, Claptrap.
Claptrap is set to appear in the upcoming Borderlands movie, where he is being played by Jack Black, so we'll see if one of the world's most charismatic comedians is able to get us to tolerate this rubbish robot. Honestly, I think he's gonna have a hard time.
My name's Hazard. Matt Hazard. At one time, I was one of the most popular action game characters in the business. I started off like a lot of guys, side-scrolling my way through the 80s. An 8-bit sprite with more firepower than pixels.
There was a period around the mid-2000s where every single game seemed to star a bald, potato-headed space marine. Jet Brody from Fracture, Darius Mason from Red Faction Armageddon, John Ford from Halo Wars, Psycho from Crisis Warhead. This trend was so endemic, there was an entire third-person shooter game designed purposefully to make fun of it, by the name of Eat Lead: The Return of Matt Hazard. That game's lead character, Matt Hazard, was intended to be a comedy version of the bald Space Marine archetype. He's basically comic relief for an entire genre.
It was the first in a string of hits as long as my... well, let's just say it was long. Really, really long.
If that voice sounds familiar, that's because it's the bassy, gravelly tones of comic actor Will Arnett, famous for Arrested Development, BoJack Horseman, and being the best Batman since Christian Bale.
Why did you build this thing with only one seat?
Cause last I checked I only had one butt.
I'm not saying the other Batmans aren't good, I'm just saying he's better. So with such a perfect recipe, a brilliant comic actor, and a genre ripe for parody, why then is spoof character Matt Hazard so painfully unspoofy in everything he says and does? Rather than being a proper parody of these characters with some funny jokes for Will Arnett to work with, he mainly just says the sort of things every other shooting game protagonist says.
Matt, I'm opening an exit now.
About time. Go on, kitty. I'm right behind you.
You could literally drop him into Red Faction Armageddon and no one would know the difference. Alright, yes, that is partly because no one played Red Faction Armageddon. Anyway, Matt Hazard as a quote-unquote funny character is a criminal waste of Will Arnett's talents, and every time the character appears on screen, we're reminded that he could have been so much more.
Then I guess it's Hazard time.
It's trade-in time, that's what it is.
It is capable of pumping out an arsenal of lethal weapons down.
Seriously?
Yep. Once you master it, voila! Hipster Merchant of Death.
2016's Watch Dogs 2 imagined an almost unbelievable near-future world. Not one where we're all under constant surveillance, that's happened already, but one where hackers are interested in things like fashion and going outside.
Damn. I guess I was lit, huh?
Like Mardi Gras.
Watch Dogs 2's hacker collective DedSec is an achingly cool selection of stylishly dressed activists who look like they've never so much as spoofed an IP address. The most visually striking of the team is Wrench, because he wears a pair of programmable LED goggles and more studs than a horse farm.
Okay, so what's the research app do?
Widen our skill set? Make us irresistible to the gender of our choice?
There's enough metal in that jacket that he's probably interfering with his own Wi-Fi signal. It's clear from the very outset that Wrench is designed to be the wacky one of the group, with his LED emoji eyes and penchant for doing funny voices through his vocoder.
I do not approve of you driving me, Marcus. You're not as swarthy as Devin Von Devon.
Makes me want to hack myself to bits with an axe. And the thing is, we know we're not alone in finding Wrench irritating. Even members of the in-game Dead Set crew, including your player character Marcus, occasionally reveal themselves to be absolutely done with Wrench's.
Is it actually good? It might be evil.
Marcus is just not saying what we're all thinking. The only thing that has us maybe considering coming around and changing our mind on Wrench during the course of Watch Dogs 2 is the point where he's arrested by the FBI and stripped of his signature digital face gear and revealed to be just another vulnerable loner who hides behind a literal mask.
I'm sorry you had to go through that, man.
But then he gets his mask back and says this line.
You know, just imagining that big data load is enough to get me to half-mast and touching cloth at the same friggin' time.
Nope, straight into the sun.
I can't tell if she thinks my mask is hot or creepy.
So that was our list about comic relief characters who were really annoying and that we hated. Why am I presenting this one now that I think about it? Is that a dig? Is that a dig on me?
Don't worry, Andy, it's definitely me.
Okay, alright, fine. Well, as long as it's Mike, that's alright. If you want to watch another video, why not check out this one from us, or this one down here from Outside Xbox? Please click on both, why not? And now I will beatbox and breakdance as we exit the video.
Alright, it's you.
Oh yeah, it's me now, isn't it?